And we're live. Excuse me. Let's get this show on the road. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Friday, September 3rd, 2021. Today, we're talking about Apple's latest policy shifts and tackling some new rumors because this is the iMore show. Joining me, as always, is iMore contributor Karen Freeman, back from her myriad travels. Hey, Karen.
Hello.
And joining us today as our special guest is iMore writer Christine Romero-Chen. Hey, Christine.
Hey.
All right. Welcome to the show. Karen, it's great to have you back.
It's great to be back. I literally dreamed about coming back on the show all week.
That is wild, and we should have a whole episode dissecting that dream. But it won't be this episode because we have a lot to talk about. So first up, sort of late breaking this week, really middle of the week stuff, but it's one of those things that seems like it'd be both big and small, but I think it's actually fairly huge. Christine, I think it was Wednesday night, Apple announced a fairly major shift in its App Store policies regarding linking to outside of your app. So what happened there?
Yeah, so Apple basically announced that they'll be letting companies of reader apps be able to have an in-app link to their website for users to sign up and manage their accounts. And reader apps are basically ones that provide previously purchased content or content subscriptions for digital magazines, newspapers, books, audio, music, and video. So, think about Spotify.
Spotify and Netflix are two of the big ones that jump to mind here.
Yeah. And this change goes into effect early next year.
So early next year. This isn't coming in the next couple of weeks with iOS 15, but early next year means it's before WWDC 2022. I get why a lot of people are saying this is not enough. It's one link. It's one link. At the same time, this is like getting a giant concrete pillar to bend even a little.
It's really a sea change in Apple policy. Mm-hmm. Apple does not like to give up control, and this is they're giving away a huge measure of control and their 30% cut, right?
Theoretically, yeah. Now, there are a lot of questions about implementation, are they actually going to give up the 30% cut? Are apps going to have to put in an in-app purchase option next to this link? It's only like a single link. I think it's still an open question, but at the same time, they have done something here which historically they don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's weird that we're here. It's both not enough and so much all at the same time. Christine, do you think this is a bigger or smaller deal than I seem to think it is?
Probably bigger.
Yeah, it's pretty huge. Now it is only this one type of app, and like Christine said, it's these reader apps, Netflix. Spotify, I would imagine the Kindle app and things like that would apply. And what's weird to me about this is it comes out of a settlement with, I think the Japanese government. I think the FTC in Japan, something like that. Yeah. But at the same time, Apple went ahead and said we are applying this rule globally.
Right. Apple didn't have to do that. Apple could have just made this a rule in Japan.
They could really have drawn this out. Just getting, making settlement after settlement across the world.
Right.
Which I think I would bet money they considered that approach. But
Apple probably would have won in some countries.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is this probably will end up taking even just a little bit of heat off of them even here in the US. There are broader, there's broader legislation at play that might still affect them, but the specific scrutiny may get toned down a bit. And I'm not sure that's good. I, in fact, don't think that's good, but maybe Apple's hoping for a bigger results for not a lot of effort.
Yeah, I think maybe Apple is trying to focus more on its own subscription services and just sort of letting go of these others in the hopes that instead they can be really dedicating their resources towards strengthening their own subscription, so people will want to subscribe to Apple News instead of other news
that'd be
subscriptions, and subscribe to Apple Music instead of Spotify and whatnot.
Yeah, give me reason. Give me a reason to subscribe to Apple Music instead of reasons not to subscribe to Spotify. Which slight tangent off of this, because we talked about Apple Music just a sec here, and maybe reasons to subscribe to it. There is another bit of news from this week. Is it Prophonic? Something like that. I can't remember. Was it Prephonic?
I think so.
Apple bought this classical music streaming service, and not only that, they'll be launching their like a standalone Apple Music classical app at some point next year.
So they Sherlocked it.
Well,
they're going to Sherlock it.
They're going to Sherlock it. But yeah, that's wild. You bring up make the service better. Like, the service right now is not great for classical music. Like, it's very, I mean, Apple Music is a service that's very focused on the same things iTunes really was, and that was like the single, not so much the album, and certainly not like movements of classical music. It's a very different beast to a lot of modern music.
So you're a classical music fan?
The service is called Primephonic.
Primephonic, thank you. Yes, thank you, Christine. But yeah, I do. I like quite a bit of classical music, and it's not. I mean, I'll tell you this: it's better than Apple Music is better about this than it used to be. It does organize actual albums correctly, but I don't know. Classical music, especially for me, isn't really a playlist kind of thing. Because you want to go from one movement into a next, and that's not really Apple's style. There are playlists there are a bunch of now Primephonic playlists on Apple Music almost immediately after this acquisition, so immediately it's a little better. But I'm very curious to see what this sort of broken out app looks like, and how it's different for next year. But it going back to your point, Karen, this is them focusing on making a part of their service better. And hopefully, you know what, Karen, I really want to think you're right. I really want to think you're right that this sort of move is them recognizing that they can make it's part of them recognizing they can make their services better than just sort of, let's be real, leeching off the back of these other services.
Right.
And it's hard because it's sort of a symbiotic relationship to a certain extent, or Apple provides these tools to these large companies and to small developers alike. And obviously small developers probably bear the brunt of that cost more than, the $100 a year obviously is easier for a large company to take than a smaller developer. But they provide these tools and they provide server space, and that stuff isn't free. But at the same time, it's also Apple. They don't necessarily need that subscription money. The subscription money that they might lose by allowing these links. Now we just need to hope. We need to hope that Apple extends this to other types of apps other than just reader apps. Yeah. I think letting developers link out to their own sites and own payment systems rather than having third-party payment systems in apps next to Apple's own, I think that's probably the ideal solution for Apple in the long term, rather than being forced to have third-party options.
Yeah.
Now, there was another announcement this morning, I believe, early this morning, Karen, about Apple's CSAM and child safety measures. So why don't you talk to
Yes.
us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So just to quickly recap, what CSAM is, it's child sexual abuse material, and Apple announced last month. Apple announced that um, they were going to limit the spread of CSAM, or child sexual abuse material, by uh, sort of monitoring iCloud and using hashes to, well, maybe you can explain this better than I can, but basically making sure that nothing that is regarded as child pornography would be uploaded into the cloud, and also that um, anything that is messaged to a child would be uh, monitored. And if there's anything inappropriate, it would be reported to parents, and so on, assuming the parents turn that on.
And censored on that child's
Right.
device.
Exactly. And so there was
Yeah.
a lot of pushback about it, presumably from people who are well-meaning, but just feel like it's a slippery slope and don't want Apple nosing about in their iCloud, in their messages, etc. So Apple actually announced that they're going to hold off on doing that, and they're going to take some more time to collect input and make improvements before actually releasing these child safety features. So, and they said they're doing this based on feedback from customers, advocacy groups, researchers, and others. So I think it's kind of surprising. Apple doesn't usually, listen to
Yeah.
Twitter and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
things like
which
that.
which makes me feel like they were getting a lot of pressure that we weren't seeing.
Probably, yeah.
Mhm.
Pressure
lot of-
from more than just like the average person on the street, but they were
Yeah.
getting pressure from organizations and
I think this was one of the more confusing rollouts in recent memory of Apple policy, especially rolling these two things out together, the child safety measures in iMessage and the CSAM scanning. Like, I see what they're trying to do with both of them, but I
Yeah.
really think they should have been announced at different times.
yeah, 'cause they're very different. The technology is very different on both of them,
The
but
technology
people were
is
getting them confused.
the technology is very different. So just to go about it, just to explain it a little more, the child safety stuff in iMessage was stuff that children, I think it's 12 and under, were sent that seemed to be explicit imagery would be censored, and parents could turn on, and this is in an iCloud family sharing setup, parents could turn on alerts to be notified if their child was sent such material.
And it could be any kind of material. It could be a picture that a person took themselves. It could be, and it's something that would be legal in another context, but
Yeah.
just not appropriate for a child.
Yeah, and that all, and so the thing that both of these have in common, and it was going to be handled primarily on device, and so the iMessage stuff was exclusively on device, and that dealt with sort of like theoretically new material, whereas the CSAM stuff was hooked into a database provided by a particular organization, which is one of the few organizations in the country that's legally allowed to possess this material for this kind of purpose. And
Right.
this was going to be scanning on your device during an image's upload to iCloud photo library.
Yeah, and the iCloud stuff is only flagged if it matches something that's in this database of known child, pornography, basically.
Yeah. And the thing to keep in mind with that is you have to meet a specific threshold. I don't think it's like, because Apple's not looking at the image directly, it's only comparing hashes. You need like a lot of hashes need to be checked, basically. It's like this is this. I can't remember the exact threshold itself, but it was fairly high in order to prevent false positives.
Right.
Because once you pass that threshold, someone is going to be looking at some version of these images, so they want to make sure that they think they know what they're going to be looking at.
Right.
And so they don't. Yeah. I mean, given the amount of pushback back Apple was receiving, this is probably the right move for now. Making sure, like a lot of researchers had called into question the particular implementation, worried about its privacy and security. I understand why Apple undertook the methods that it did, because it's trying, I think in a way it's kind of Apple trying to build a better mousetrap than the other
Yeah.
companies, because the other companies, they thought, I would imagine Apple thought this was going to be like a privacy win, because Google does this and Facebook does this. All the companies that have your photos in the cloud do this sort of scanning, and they do it, I think the impression I get, at least, is in a less private way than Apple was planning on doing it. But
yeah, I don't feel like Apple needs to do more research on the technology, because I don't think the technology itself is what people are objecting to. People are objecting to the message that they heard.
Yeah.
And I think Apple realizes they made a boo-boo on their message.
Certainly.
And so they're saying they're going to do more research, but really I think they're going to think about some better ways to express what they're actually trying to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Before they roll it
surprised.
back out.
I wouldn't be surprised if they re-explain this in like 3 to 6 months. They re-explain this just using completely different language, but it's the same system. Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure they'll say something like, it's more private, it's more protective of our users' privacy, but really they just needed much better messaging.
All right, let's move on to infinitely more pleasant topics than this one, because we've got, it's September. It's September. I don't know about you two, but the weather here finally broke, and it is no
Yes.
longer extremely humid, and I don't worry about
fall. It feels like fall outside.
It certainly feels like it's starting to come around to that, especially in the evening. Evenings were still fairly warm during the day, but when I step out of my house, I don't feel like I'm in danger of drowning anymore. So that's pretty good.
You guys have humidity, and I had heat, lots and lots of heat.
Yeah, we have a fair amount of heat,
we had
but
both.
conducted through humidity, it's certainly not great for hair. I'll say that.
But I'm glad we're in sweater weather.
We are. Yeah, and maybe 2 weeks time, maybe we'll all be wearing sweaters watching this Apple event, because it is September and we are expecting in not very long now a new Apple event to take place. In fact, I think we're expecting announcements next week. So by this time next week, we can be talking about that.
Yes.
We
can be trying to figure out what this event's logo really means.
That looks like a new watch face, and the angle on the hour hand is just that. Yeah, it's going to be. We're going to do a lot of fun Apple Kremlinology on next week's episode. Just you wait. But on this week's episode, we have plenty of rumors to keep us going. We've got some new reporting from Bloomberg's Mark Gurman about devices that we expect or don't expect, or that may be delayed. So first, let's talk about Apple Watch and MacBook, because it seems like those devices have run into a bit of trouble. I think it wasn't just Mark Gurman. It was first reported by Nikkei. But the Apple Watch Series 7 could be seeing a bit of a delay.
I always feel like we need to clarify when we use the term delay. The Apple hasn't actually announced any date.
Delay.
So when we say delay, it's the delay of the date that we were expecting.
Exactly.
Not that Apple has said.
And this is always the game that you have to play, right? Whenever you're talking about potential Apple delays, like with a few exceptions, Apple doesn't pre-announce things. They pre-announce AirPower, which that was a mistake. They did pre-announce Mac. They pre-announced both of the most recent Mac Pros, and they pre-announced the iMac Pro. But generally, no, they don't pre-announce things. So nothing's technically delayed until it misses a date that Apple has announced. But yeah, from what has been expected, Apple Watch Series 7 could be a delay. So the reason for this, apparently we're getting new display sizes, 41 and 45 millimeter, and this new design with flat edges and bigger screens seems to be causing some trouble, and I'm not shocked. But
No, I
also
mean,
not
the
disappointed.
pandemic is not over, and there are
No.
supply constraints on all kinds of random things that you wouldn't necessarily expect, but
Mhm.
certainly
Yeah.
impact in these big factories. Of course, things are going to be slowed down.
But I have a thought. I don't think Apple will preempt the announcement of the Apple Watch Series 7.
What do you mean?
Well, they didn't preempt the announcement of the new iPad Pro with micro LED display or mini LED. Mini LED. Can never remember the actual name. But and that's been hard to get for months. I think they're just gonna maybe they'll push back their original estimated launch date to maybe late in the month, but I think they'll announce it at the same time they were always going to,
Oh, okay. I see what
Yeah.
you're
and
saying.
just
So
kind of
they'll
take
still
it in the
announce
teeth.
it as expected, but they just won't say you can order it at the end of this week. It'll be, whatever.
Yeah, or
month
maybe
or-
it will be pre-orders begin end of this week, and the understanding I think amongst a lot of people will be that supplies are limited, and I expect a lot of delays in when people actually get them.
Yeah.
I expect maybe there'll be a hotter item than the iPhone. Who knows? Because they'll
Yeah.
actually have a new design.
Well, I
But
don't think that they're going to announce pre-orders until they have like the first run ready to go.
they might. I would say they would go so far as to say it'll be shipping in October, and then pre-orders are open up sometime maybe end of this month or into October. But
Right.
yeah.
I mean, pre-orders
Yeah.
usually aren't more than a week or so before they actually come out.
Right.
Yeah.
I do think they'll have enough iPhones just to guess. But
I haven't heard anything about supply constraints for iPhone, so I am
Yeah,
expecting.
in
I'm
fact-
expecting to. I've already made arrangements to get rid of my my iPhone 12 mini because I'm fully expecting a new iPhone before the end of this month.
Karen's just gonna dump the body and roll off with her shiny new iPhone. But I don't think we have. In fact, it's weird. I think there was this week or last week there was some kind of report that this global chip shortage is affecting like literally everyone else but Apple. And the iPhone would be the thing to be hit by a chip shortage, and it doesn't sound like it has been, really.
I haven't heard even a whisper.
Which is great. That's great. That says a lot of things about what to expect from the iPhone 13 supply, I hope.
Well, also the iPhone 13 was probably created, a year or two ago.
Yeah. And I think Apple's been, what is it? I think since the rumor was May, like they've been in production since May.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I got to say, I do think it'll be iPhone 13. I know we're like a week away from having to make this sort of final guess, but that's my final guess: iPhone 13, not 12s.
Yeah. I agree. I think we're done with the S nomenclature.
One would hope. But yeah, this. So yeah, Nikkei first reported this, and then Bloomberg backed it up. Christine, you've been, I think, the most vocal in your potential excitement for the Apple Watch Series 7 amongst their staff, but I would imagine that
was only because
diminished.
Yeah,
So
because I was hoping for blood glucose monitor.
and it really doesn't
Yeah.
sound like that's happening.
Yeah.
Maybe not
Nothing
even
like
next
that.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. That seems like a really tough nut to crack.
I've
Especially
been meaning
launch.
to ask you this, Christine. Is there currently a way to accurately measure blood sugar without piercing the skin and getting an actual blood sample?
Yeah, there's like continuous glucose monitors, and I actually have one that I've been meaning to like get started with the trial for, but
That doesn't require any blood to, or like what
No,
is it attached to?
it measures a different fluid. It's like you attach it to your belly or arm.
So it is
measuring like
still,
the sweat on your skin, like, or is it going?
I think it's like amniotic fluid or something.
So it still pierces the skin, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
okay.
like a little patch that you wear for like a week and a half at a time.
So it does still pierce the skin, though.
Yeah.
But so the Apple Watch, in order to measure blood glucose, would have to pierce your skin. No, am I misunderstanding that? Or it would have to
Well, the
attach.
idea,
It would have to connect to something that is piercing your
I
skin.
think
I
the
thought it
idea. Go ahead, Kristen.
like something with like light sensors, kind of like how they measure the heart rate right now. I think.
Right.
Yeah, I think
But
the
Yeah.
idea was
technology doesn't
non-invasive.
exist. Right, but that technology doesn't exist yet, does it?
Certainly not at the scale that Apple would want it to. I think the rumor is they've been testing it. It just they haven't gotten it there yet.
Because I feel like for 50, 100 years, I scientists have been trying to figure out a way to measure blood glucose without piercing the skin. No, I mean
Yeah.
that would be the hope, I would think, if one was diabetic, that you wouldn't have to be piercing your skin.
Yeah. That's what I've been hoping for like years.
But
Yeah.
alas, not yet. Not this.
I
time.
feel like it wouldn't be Apple that would be inventing that technology.
One would
Apple
hope it would be a larger medical breakthrough.
Right, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And then the Apple would jump on it after that, a year or
Mhm.
two after that, once they figure out how to integrate it into the Apple Watch. So I feel like blood glucose measure. I guess all of this is to say I don't think that Apple is going to incorporate blood glucose monitoring for many years. I mean, not until even a year or two after the technology is invented by somebody.
But continuing on with the theme of Apple Watch Series 7, because it's not all bad news that it might be delayed or in limited supply, because we do have some news from this week from yesterday actually, about potential new watch faces, because as we said, we might be getting different sizes, 41 and 45 millimeters instead of 40 and 44. But to go with that, and to go with the new sort of, given that these are flat sides, the shape of the glass would be different, and it'd be bigger. It'd be a bigger watch overall. These new faces are said to be going with that. We've got new watch faces that include Modular Max, Continuum, World Time, and new special editions of the Hermes and Nike watch faces, presumably strictly for those models of Apple Watch.
I know that bumps me out so much because I love new watch faces, and I can tell by the name Modular Max is something I'd be all over.
Mhm.
But alas, I'm not getting the next Apple Watch, so
Yeah,
I won't get it.
Oh, is there a reason why you're not gonna get it?
Because I just bought an Apple Watch Series 6.
Oh.
There you go.
And I always get the stainless steel, so I don't buy them.
Yeah,
anymore.
those are those run you a bit.
Yeah. So I hang on to them for a while.
And it's really disappointing too, because they're I mean, so far, like we're 8 betas in, and I don't think there have been other new watch faces for the current watches in these betas, which usually there are. And they didn't talk about any during WWDC, I don't think.
Yeah, I feel like if they do have any new watch faces, they'll be sort of minor, like the artsy ones. You can have this piece of art on your
the ones that
whatever.
are never for me.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if I wanted just like a piece of art on my Apple Watch, I just would use the photo face and just do whatever piece of art I want. I like the functional ones. Like, give me more complications.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If I wanted art on my wrist, I'd have a tattoo. But yeah, Karen, I think I'm with you. Like, I use the what do they call this one? The infograph face. This dial here,
Oh yeah.
because I think it has the most complications that you can get on an Apple Watch face. I've got 8.
Yeah. The only thing is I'm using what is infograph. Is that what this one is called?
Yeah. Well, that one is, so mine is infograph. Yours, I think, is infograph modular. Yeah, infograph modular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I seem to have forgotten how to read an analog watch. After
no.
wearing an analog watch for many, many, many years and reading it all the time with no problem, I seem to have forgotten how. I think it's because I'm confronted with so much information on my watch. I'm trying to take it all in. I can't also read an analog face. So I need the digital time on there.
At a certain point, you're just asking too much.
It's like my brain can only process so much with a glance. So, so yeah, but this does have quite a bit of information on it, and but sure, I could always use one or two more complications. I wouldn't turn that down.
Yeah, Christina, you're a big info.
I actually
loaded.
used to use the modular.
Infograph modular, yeah.
Yeah. But since I got the Pride band like last year, I changed it to the California watch face
Oh,
with the rainbow.
that's a good one. I've got that
The-
saved in here
The
somewhere.
Yeah,
Wait,
and-
hold it up. What's the California watch?
The California,
is it one of the Pride ones?
it's like what? Yeah, it's
it's got a Pride color scheme to it.
yeah, but it's analog, and like, so I was using the infograph modular for like a long time, basically since like forever, and I had forgotten how to read an analog watch face.
Oh no.
So when I switched it to that, I'm like, oh, I really like how this looks. I'm gonna have to like relearn how to read this.
So, Karen, infograph or not? California is the one where one of the major modes is you have like standard numerals like on the top and then Roman numerals on the bottom, and it can be a whole one of those whole screen watch faces, or you
Yeah.
can shrink it down to a circle and have
Yeah.
complications
I just
in the
Googled
corners.
it. No, I don't
Yeah.
like that one at all. I just
You
I don't
can
like the
switch it.
mix.
Well, that's
Well,
the thing. You
I
can
switched
actually
it to
switch it.
the Arabic numbers.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
see there's different ways you can do it, but I don't know. I don't find that one there's no complications on that face at all, are there?
Not
Yeah,
on the
there's-
face itself, but you can put
You can put it up to 5,
yeah.
Okay.
7 complications.
It's a lot like it
Oh,
ends
that's
up
not
being a
bad.
lot like the like a better, almost a better version, or at least a more complication friendly version of the simple watch face that was one of the original watch faces when the
Yeah.
Apple Watch first shipped. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm looking at it with all the complications. I just think it looks cluttered. I don't know. I feel like I don't want to waste space on my Apple Watch for a watch face. That's just
So-
me personally. Because there's only so much space and there's a lot of stuff I want to put in there. I mean, I have the next 5 hours of weather on my Apple Watch face. And a timer and the workout and my rings and a pedometer and the date and the time.
so
So
let's
I can't give any of that up.
let's dive in a little bit to what these faces are supposed to be, because Mark Gurman also has descriptions of them. So Modular Max. So I don't know that this is necessarily going to be. I don't know that you'll. Okay, maybe it is. So Modular Max is supposed to show the time digitally alongside a small complication. I think probably like the Siri watch face does now, or maybe also the Infograph Modular. Yeah, also like the current Infograph Modular does. But in addition to that, there will be larger complications below. It really is an upgraded version of the Infograph Modular face right now, which shows one large complication and then 3 smaller ones below that. Those are your options for that. The one that intrigues me, though, is Continuum. If only because I kind of miss the time travel feature from many versions of watchOS ago, where you used to be able to just spin the digital crown and you could move the time forward and back. I don't remember when they moved it. It might have been as soon as watchOS 3, because they introduced it in watchOS 2, and I don't know that it was ever popular. But what Mark Gurman says is Continuum will change based on the flow of time and the current hour, which the flow of time is the Doctor Strange watch, and it has the stone on it, and you can just go like this and move time forward and
It's
back.
very mysterious.
Very mysterious.
Does that mean it's going to show you like upcoming appointments or upcoming weather?
One wonders.
Or is it going to show the passage of the sun or the moon? Or like that could mean a lot of different things.
Because I mean, it's interesting you bring that up, Karen. So like I was saying, you had that time travel feature, and time travel used to do that on your watch faces.
Yeah.
So if you had an upcoming appointment and you had, say, a calendar widget in the middle of the Infograph Modular face,
yeah,
it would show you that it would show you that appointment when you moved closer to that time. I wonder if it'll do something similar. And the rising and falling of the sun and the moon, we already have, I think it's called solar, that does exactly that for the
Yeah.
sun, and the sun's point in the sky based on your geographic location over the
Right.
course of the day. And there's also that newer one that's a lot more complicated that does that, but it also has it's a full watch face with some complication, and it has its own little tiny dial in there for something. I've never figured that one out. This changed based on the flow of time and the current hour. There's also the world time watch face, which you get to see all 24 time zones simultaneously. An external dial shows the time zones, while the inner dial shows the time in each location. Users will be able to choose to see the time in either digital or analog. This watch face is similar to the ones popularized by Patek Philippe, Breitling, and Vacheron Constantin.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said all of those, because I'm not sure how to pronounce any of them. But I guess that's
Breitling is the only one I knew I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like the fancy watch face, it sounds like.
That's okay, you didn't get an Hermes watch, but you still get this fancy watch face.
So I'm just trying to think who needs to know all 24 time zones simultaneously. I know there are a lot of people who need to know a couple different time zones at the same time because of their work, or if they have loved ones in another time zone.
But and Apple's got a face for that already.
Yeah. But all 24 simultaneously, that's a lot.
That seems like a lot. And then we have new faces for Hermes and Nike branded Apple watches.
Of course.
Let's see. The Hermes version has numbers that change hour by hour, which that describes a lot of watch faces on a lot of watches. But moving along, the new Nike face features numbers that move based on a person's motion. Well, that's interesting. And that makes a lot of sense for an athletic focused face.
Yeah,
make it a little more fun. But I'm going back to it. This vague numbers that change hour by hour describes how watches work. I don't know. Be more vague, please. I don't know how to process that one truly. Faster processor. This report also says that the Series 7 will feature a faster processor, redesigned case with flatter edges, as we've been seeing. The new screen is designed with a new lamination technique that brings the display closer to the cover glass. We've seen this happen with iPhones over the years and iPads. In fact, I think only the baseline iPad has a non-laminated screen now. But it really does make a difference in terms of like color reproduction and just sharpness of images. So this is good.
Will it make a difference in bright sunlight? Because I think that's really the only issue.
This is a big question, isn't it? That's always the question, especially for a device that's aimed more towards active folks, like the way the Apple Watch is.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. So that, and it might actually be this lamination that is one of the issues that is leading to production issues with the watch.
Yeah. That would be the only visual thing I would really want to see improved in the Apple Watch.
Yeah. Always be more visible in sunlight. That goes for iPhones too. I was outside with my iPhone not an hour ago.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was a problem. But before we move on, Karen, if you could do me a favor and talk about our sponsor for this week.
Yes. Getting things done is a challenge that everyone struggles with. One way to tackle it is to make sure you have the right tools, and for your computer, that means the right apps. The problem is not all apps do what they promise, and the drawn out search for the right solution makes it harder to get the job done. That's why there's SetApp. SetApp is on a mission to help users get more done. With SetApp, there's no more worrying about having to search for apps to solve a problem. SetApp packs over 200 apps for your Mac and iPhone into one. There's an app for almost any task, so you can stay in your flow and finish what you started. With SetApp, you can think about your tasks, not apps. A dedicated curation team only selects the highest quality apps. New apps are added to SetApp regularly. Updates are free, and all the apps are full-featured pro versions. It's also a great value. Instead of paying thousands of dollars for separate licenses, There's just one flat monthly fee. Head over to setapp.com to try Setapp free for a week. If you like Setapp, pay just $9.99 per month as long as it's useful to you. And trust us, it will be. That's setapp.com.
All right. Thank you, Karen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's Apple Watch Series 7. Unfortunately, that is not the only potential delay that we're looking at because MacBooks. Oh, MacBooks. Yeah, well, these are still rumored for a 2021 launch. It might be a bit later than we were hoping for to see them. These mini LED MacBooks, which right there should be telling you why they might be delayed from Apple's original timeline. They are supposedly hitting some production issues of their own, in addition to the production issues faced by the Apple Watch Series 7. This is another Bloomberg report, by the way. Mark Gurman. I think it's actually the same one from the Apple Watch. It's it's sort of a dire situation. 1 second. Yeah. So, yeah. While the focus this fall is on the iPhone, maybe also the Apple Watch, and potentially iPad Mini 6 with a new design. Please, please, please. I think we're all eagerly anticipating mini LEDs, or the mini LED MacBook Pros 2 with finally souped up M1 processors, the M1X as it were. And now it's looking like November may be the earliest we see these. So no, this isn't this didn't start as a Bloomberg report. This actually started as a Digitimes report. So this is one of those ones you have to kind of maybe take with a pinch of salt. But yeah, the report says that the models might be delayed because of silicon shortage. So the silicon shortage might not be hitting phones, but it does seem like it's hitting the Mac, which sad. I'm sad. Is anyone here in the market for a new MacBook, or is that just me?
Not me right now.
Yeah. At the same time, I think I would hope that we're all excited to see what an M1X can do versus the standard M1 at this point.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for a while. Some would say eagerly anticipating it. Some would say delaying purchases to see what the M1X has to offer. Like more RAM, I would hope, maybe more Thunderbolt ports. But it's a little sad, but it's one of those things where you just have to say we'll get it eventually. Kind of just have to take a breath and say we'll get it eventually. And again, Karen, it's to your point. Apple hasn't announced anything yet. The only thing Apple's announced is that they are transitioning all of their Macs to Apple Silicon, and as long as they can do that by the end of next year, they'll be good to go. Because they said 2 years.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm anxious for it. I want it. Give me it.
Yeah, I mean, if something happened to my current MacBook, that is probably the model that I would get, the 14-inch M1X MacBook Pro. So, I hope it at least comes out before something happens to my current daily driver.
And I've been thinking about something you've been talking about for, I think, most of this year in regards to that 14-inch MacBook Pro. And I do wonder if they will just wholesale replace the 13-inch and there won't be like a low-end Pro model, because there doesn't theoretically need to be. I mean, sustained workloads aside, that the fan of the current 13-inch MacBook Pro with M1 allows, I feel like the MacBook Air really does fill most of that need if Apple has a 14-inch Pro.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some overlap between the 13 and the 14, but I don't see Apple keeping a 13 and a 14-inch MacBook Pro long term. because
Yeah, especially
the
if they
13-inch MacBook Air.
especially if they get the price right. You know, it's
Yeah.
now there was a rumor, I think it was last week, that we can expect those computers, the 14 and 16-inch, to have the same performance, which is great. That's that is iPhone territory. It's kind of what I think a lot of people have wanted out of all of Apple devices for a while, and we've had it in the iPhone and the iPad. Certainly, the only where the with the iPad Air line, iPad Air and iPad Mini line, the only choice you've really had to make this past year accepted has been size. Like, do you want the small one or do you want the bigger one?
Right, right. And those of us who like smaller devices shouldn't have to be stuck with lesser features just because it's smaller.
Yeah, Apple. That also
Yeah.
goes for your phones too.
Yeah.
Keep
Seriously.
making minis. Keep making minis. That's just I'm just gonna message that into every episode. But yeah, we just because we want the smaller device, the more pocketable, more packable device, we don't. This sounds like we won't have to sacrifice. I say we. I really mean you won't have to sacrifice power, because I do like the larger screen size on computers. Not necessarily my phone, but my MacBooks. Yeah, definitely. Christine, are you? Yeah, you're not in the market for a MacBook, but are you anxious to see what the M1X can do?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
what does it really offer versus the M1?
yeah. And honestly, like if the M1X MacBook Pro comes out, I might consider getting it just because I don't have an M1 Mac
Mm-hmm.
at all yet. So I just want to
You
I
want to
want to
move to the
use
future?
iOS apps on my Mac.
I just want to listen to the iMore show through Overcast on my Mac. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a huge deal. So let's get that done. But yeah, November's probably a fine time to launch a MacBook Pro. It would sort of the end of the window though for people trying to get something for Christmas or
Yeah.
end of year stuff. But I feel like Apple also. I think we heard that Apple began production on those fairly early too. So I would imagine it's both display and chip issues. Those mini LEDs, the iPad Pro, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is still it's harder to get than one would imagine this far into its lifetime.
Oh, really? Is it still like you have to wait?
I
like,
think
a few
still,
weeks?
yeah. And I mean, Apple's been having production issues all year. I mean, it's still a long wait to get an iMac, and that doesn't have a mini LED display.
I think we just have to be a little patient. I think every company on the planet is
But
having
I want
trouble.
it now.
It's having trouble getting things done, getting enough people and supplies, and
Yeah,
it's just the way of the world right now.
If you need more evidence that the pandemic is not over, it's and rising case numbers don't convince you. Let materialism convince you, and your lack of available new materials to purchase. It's yeah. That all being said, though, I am looking forward to this event. I'm starting to come around to the idea that this will be a more traditional Apple September event instead of jam-packed with everything from iPhones to MacBooks. This will be probably iPhone, Apple Watch, maybe AirPods 3. And
iPad Mini.
Well, I think iPad Mini might come with MacBooks.
Oh, so you think there'll be another fall event?
I think maybe in October.
Okay.
But I don't think there'll be a third. I don't think they'll do 3 like they did last year. But they have done 2 events, even in times where everyone's been able to travel to them. So,
well, I think they definitely want to get AirPods out well before the holiday season, because AirPods are great, very popular gifts.
And these are going to be, from all indications, these will be like regular AirPods. These aren't going to be new AirPod Pros.
Right.
These are going to be AirPod 3. That'll
Right,
look a lot like AirPod Pros.
Right, which makes them very well priced for gifting.
Yeah. Priced for gifting, priced, and I would also say priced for decent like holiday time discounts as well, even early. Not at Apple, obviously, because they never discount anything. But
Right.
But Amazon and Best Buy and those sorts of stores will have those probably on maybe a $30 discount.
Right. All the more reason to release it in September so that by November they, 2-month-old product they can discount. Where if it's brand new, it's a bit harder.
And I'm interested to see, because like none of the renders or supposed shots that we've had of these have depicted any sort of like ear attachment mechanism, and they are that same shape as the AirPods Pro. Like you could see where it would go, where like the ear tip would go, but it doesn't. It looks like these will take more after the current AirPods in terms of not having specialized tips. It'll just kind of sit there in your ear. Karen, you don't have AirPods, do you?
No, I don't.
Would you consider these?
I'm looking right now at a stack of boxes of third-party earbuds.
As you are wont to do.
So it's very hard for me to justify purchasing earbuds.
Well, there you go.
To be honest.
There you go. You have so many. People want your opinions on these things, Karen.
I do. I mean, I could pull them out, but I do have a lot. I give them
just Scrooge McDucking into earbud boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we keep forgetting to talk about AirPods 3 because they've been rumored for so long and they just haven't shown up.
Yeah. I predict they will be very popular when they come out. Yeah. And I think timing them just to come out a little bit before the holiday season is going to make them even more popular.
Oh, definitely. And I would hope that this time Apple has plentiful supply. If you'll remember the launch of the original AirPods.
I remember it very well because I was working at the Apple store at the time, and they would we would get some in every day and they would sell out every single day.
Oh no.
Like we would tell people, like people would come in and they would miss them, and we would tell them like when was a good time to come in the next day for them. And they would just fly. I've never seen anything in my entire life just fly off the shelves like those AirPods, the original AirPods did.
Christine, are you more of an AirPods Pro person?
Yeah, I bought the first gen AirPods and I just didn't like how they sit in my ear.
Yeah, they're a very odd device. I don't care what anyone says. I never really got used to that longer stem of the AirPods sticking out of my ear. I like the one on these is a lot better.
It also fits better in my ear for the pros because of the silicone ear tips.
Yeah, the ear tip really helps with that.
It's a very personal thing though, because I've heard people say the reverse as well.
Yeah, no, I've definitely run into people that they like the feel of regular AirPods better. I wonder how those people will feel about these new ones, about the fit of these. Like is that lack of ear tip that I'm assuming is there? Is that lack of ear tip enough to keep these comfortable for those people, or is the angle too much? Because that's the other thing. It's a shallower angle between the actual bud and the stem. So I wonder. Christine, I think I'm with you. I'm looking more forward to seeing what AirPods Pro 2 have in store for us. Definitely.
Although personally, I usually prefer like headphones overall.
What you're wearing right now is more your style.
Yeah.
AirPods Max, if you will.
Yeah. Because sometimes like I have the earbuds in for like a few hours and it just ends up hurting after a while. And I just find headphones more comfortable.
I've seen that from a lot of people. In-ear buds tend to irritate them a lot easier.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's call it there. We'll have a lot more to talk about next week too. We've come down to the end of our hour. I want to say thanks to Christine for joining us this week. Karen, it's great to have you back.
Great to be back.
I've missed you. It's been a long time
I know.
since we did a show together.
I know.
Like,
It's been like 3 weeks.
yeah, it's wild. And don't get me wrong, Renee's fun to have on a show, certainly. But we can go on and on. This could have been a 2-hour show last week, and that's a lot. That's a lot of. I think that's a lot of both Renee and I,
Yeah.
all in one dose. So big thanks to everyone who showed up and was commenting during the show. Our live watchers always make this fun. Thanks to everyone who's going to listen to us later in their podcatcher of choice, whether it's a Catalyst app on the Mac or on their iPhone. As always, massive thank you to Jim Metzendorf, our editor extraordinaire, who always makes it sound so wonderful. And until next time, this has been the iMore Show. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.